Hello, everyone. My
Hello.
name my name is 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘆𝘁𝗰𝗵. I'm an art historian and curator. I research, write, and work with visual culture in relationship with media technology. It's my great pleasure to moderate this discussion. So I have to begin with my by thanking Clujotronic for inviting me to moderate this discussion. I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate Clujotronic for its 10th anniversary. That means Goethe-Zentrum and Institut Français in Cluj, and all the great people working there. So I wish Clujotronic 100 more editions from now on. For those who perhaps don't know exactly what Clujotronic is about, is a festival dedicated, as the name itself indicates, on fusing art and technology, and to explore innovative contexts, inspiring experiences, and it addresses to artists, tech enthusiasts, and also general public. Is a very popular festival, and we're glad to have this festival in Cluj, obviously. And when I say new media, that means almost any category, from digital art in general to interactive video games and so on. And gaming being one of the special attention given by the festival since its inception. Yes, 10 years ago. In our talk session today, I have guests from France, Germany, and Romania, and I will ask them to introduce themselves and say a few words about their work. After that, we will pass to the second part of this discussion, rather informal discussion. I hope to be rather informal discussion, and I will ask some questions, and I encourage people to ask questions, and I'll pass them to the artists. So. If everything's set, I will go on to introduce you. I will start with 𝗕𝗺𝘆𝘆𝗁 from Germany. Is an international artist collective from Berlin that creates touch-based soundscapes with everyday objects. Their works are usually focused on audience participation, and their mission is stated as follows. And please let me quote them. Our mission is to explore, inspire, and provoke curiosity using music, play, and creative possibility. Our work has taken us across the world, from the Centre Pompidou in Paris and the Exploratorium in San Francisco. We also collaborate with brands on engagement and interaction projects, from Nike, Boeing, Mercedes-Benz, Google, IKEA, and many more. And I unquote. 𝗕𝗺𝘆𝘆𝘁𝗰𝗵 members are Alexander Paz, founder, and Aglaya Demidenko, art director, and they are present in this year's edition of Clujotronic with absolutely fascinating work called 𝗕𝗍𝘆𝘆𝘁𝗍𝗄 Orchestra. The second group of artists are 𝗵𝗆𝘆𝘆𝘁 and Romain Navier from France. Will perform the show. They performed the show 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘆𝘆𝘁𝗍𝗄 on Sunday at the Transit House. So I encourage you to go there. Obviously, according to the regulations related to pandemics. 𝗵𝗆𝘆𝘆𝘁 is a DJ and sound artist from Bretagne in France, who creates his unique music identity by borrowing elements from hip hop, house, ambient, and even jazz. He has a page on SoundCloud. I encourage you to visit his page. Romain Navier is a French motion designer who, apart from his solo work, also accompanies musicians as an art director, as a set designer, and VJ. Has also a website you should definitely visit. The third artist or group of artists invited is 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘆𝘁𝗁 from Romania. She graduated from the University of Art and Design in Cluj-Napoca, and in the last few years she has been living in both Cluj and Rennes in France, dividing her activity between these two cities. Her art is located somewhere at the border between the fine arts and the digital arts. Her projects involving the use of a wide range of materials, which she merges into the representation of what she calls floating realities. Her artistic research originated from a desire to reflect on the multiplicity of points of view people have, the infinite possibilities of interpreting the existence and the traces an event can leave in one's memory. Her work, multimedia installation, Anamorphic Memories, was selected from the 2021 call for projects initiated by Clujotronic, and you have the opportunity to visit her work in the festival. An amazing work. Okay, so these are the artists, and they are surely eager to tell us more about themselves and their activities. So I will invite us to keep the same order. Invite 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘁𝗁𝗁, Alexander, and Aglaya to present themselves and tell us a little bit about their art. Please.
All right. Thank you. Big thank you for Clujotronic for invitation. It's our first time in Romania, and looks really amazing. Very baroque, very something completely which we have not expected to see.
Yeah.
Which is always good. We like to travel, and we like to see different places, and we like to make them sound. So a quick introduction about 𝗕𝗺𝘆𝘁𝗁𝗁. Basically, it's a project, it's a platform, I used to say, based on educational approach. And the main idea is that our music education system is really lacking some instruments and tools and techniques that would lead us to create new music, new electronic music. And since already 7 years ago, we created this platform by creating special devices that works with tactility and media interface, which allows anyone to connect objects around us to electric chain and then use them as a musical interface. The product that we produce, one of them is called Playtron. You can connect, as we did together today, together with Clujotronic audience. We connected vegetables and played some electro dancey tracks together. But it's very open. So the idea is that it's a super accessible instrument that anyone can use, and there is no need for special knowledge or special instruments or anything else. So you just get the device and then you connect conductive objects. The idea, first of all, I had this vision to create an educational platform 7 years ago, and I found this device, and we started doing workshops step by step, developing the workflow, and we realized that this device can be really helpful for basically for everyone, not only for musicians. So now the audience of 𝗕𝗺𝘆𝘁𝗁𝗁 are artists, educators, composers, people who work with therapy, people who work with autistic people. So yeah, and it led us to a very wide range of projects. We work with museums, and we did some installations with museums, but also festivals and outdoor experiences, which we usually invite just people from the street to take part in these performances. So Our second device is actually here. It's called 𝗕𝗃𝘁𝗃. And the idea behind is that we don't even need objects to play. We can use ourselves to play music. So how does it work? It measures the resistance between two persons who touch each other. And by measuring the resistance, you can create a range of MIDI notes, which is then transformed into a music or a scale or whatever you can set in the computer. So maybe we do a little demo of the 𝗕𝗃𝘁𝗃. It's always a little bit of magic, because when you touch another person, you not usually expect something musical to come. So, all right. I hope you got the idea, but to be honest, you will never understand until you try. And this is one of the main vision of 𝗕𝗆𝘆𝘁𝗍, that you always need to learn by doing things, not just by watching or listening to them. So with 𝗕𝗃𝘁𝗃, we, as I told before, we expand our audience and people using it to explore the potential of sound in different relations, in relation to different fields. And some people use it in the theater, for example, to create. Actually, my personal background is music theater, so I'm really connected to this performative side of musical devices that we produce. So in the theater, there is one play somewhere in Germany where, with 𝗕𝗃𝘁𝗃, on the stage, you see the love relation between a blind person and his lover, and they expressing their feelings by touching each other. And so that's really fascinating, and that brings me a lot of inspiration to see how people are using our devices, what kind of projects they are coming to. So it's not only a vegetable orchestra, which is great, but it's just the first step into this more complicated sound designs. And a few words about our new device, which is coming hopefully this year. It is developed with an engineer from France, with our Berlin-based team, our Russian team. So it's always a collaboration. Collaboration work, yeah, product designer from Stockholm. So we have a lot of people involved, and it's basically a device that will transform color into music. And by doing this, we want to manifest that we want to put the focus on the synesthesia, a state when people experience different senses at the same time. And by putting colorful magnets on a spinning disc, you can create melodies just by putting color on the spinning plate. So that's the device called Orbita, and it will be released by the end of this year. And it will open up the Pandora box of synesthesia and multisensory projects that are related to color and to sound. And we actually even did a podcast series a few months ago, which opened the different experiences that combine visual and sound. So you're really welcome to listen to them. It's Seeing Sound at 𝗕𝗆𝘆𝘁𝗃.com, and we talk with different artists like 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘆𝘁, Peter Strickland, film director, 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘆𝘁, musician, and Cold Cut. So asking all these people, what is the relation between visual and audio? And the answers are really great stories. So I'm really looking forward for this new coming device. And yeah, hope, if there are any questions also, I can answer.
Yes, surely. We'll leave the questions for the after we'll make
Okay.
the tour of presentations. Thank you. That sounds really really interesting. So we'll go on and ask Blatch and Romain to present themselves and speak a little bit about their work.
Yes, really happy to be part of Clujotronic. It's a really cool festival, so we are really glad to be here.
Yes, thank you.
We will present this year our brand new live show. It's I do the music and he do the
light and the video projection.
Yeah. So it's the result of quite few years of entraînement.
What?
Training.
Training.
And now we got a nice show. Maybe we can show you how we do it.
We can talk about the process. Like Julien was working on his new album, so you have a lot of tracks and a lot of ideas of track listing and stuff, and in parallel. I joined his project at the beginning of his album and his live set, and to work really in the same direction. We spent few days in places where Julien was growing up and in his young life and adolescence.
Childhood.
His childhood landscape, and we went everywhere where he was inspired for his music, and so I can be inspired too by for the visual. So we can maybe show some
do the screen share. Yeah.
So the screen share.
Hope it works.
Yes.
Oh,
yes, it's
thank
fine.
you.
Okay.
Thank you. So here are the landscapes where I come from. It's the city of 𝗕𝗆𝘆𝘁 in Bretagne, in France. So it's around the sea, next to the sea. Sorry. So there is a lot of sea for sure, and a lot of
lot of rocks and different type of rocks and color and everything. Every bit of the landscape was really the first element we working on for visual, light, color and stuff, and texture. A lot of texture in nature. So a lot of blue sea, rocks and stuff, and everything. We process all that image. We record some videos, some drone flying stuff, and it was the base of my project, a visual project, and I worked around this all this packaging of image image pack, and the result is a mix between 3D images and real shooting, and some photos, some video. It's a mix between this, and we work at the for the scenography. We work. We've tried a lot of different setup with the screen. We really wanted to Blatch be in the middle of the images, like a really immersive live show. So we finally find a solution. So Blatch is is in between two screens, so it's like really in the middle of the images, and we have a screen like semi-transparent, transparent screen. So Julian
in
is
front of me.
yeah, in front of Blotch. So sometimes it's really in the images.
Yeah.
And sometimes with the lights, I can light him. He suddenly appear and suddenly disappear with another visual, another video, another scene, and so it's really a mix between reality with the musician and 3D and immersive stuff. Yeah.
It's kind of confusing because sometimes you can see me and sometimes you forget me. You forget me. Comment dire en entier?
At all.
At all. Yeah.
So
it have this kind of image.
The Blotch music is really complex in terms of style. It's about ambient stuff and sometimes techno and sometimes house. So in 1 hour you have really different kind of landscapes, tempo, rhythm, and ambience. So all the visuals are really dedicated to one track, one by one. One track is really working for being in symbiosis with the visual, and the music is really symbiotic.
Connected.
And arrêtez le partage. Arrêtez le partage.
Yes.
Arrêtez.
C'est là.
And so we will perform tomorrow night. So we
in a theater.
We are happy to be performing here. And yeah,
that's it.
Okay, thank you. Sounds very interesting, very exciting. We're looking forward to see, sorry, to see the show. Cool. So let's go on to Isa and ask her to introduce herself and tell us a few words about herself and the work. I'm afraid we can't hear you. You have to turn on the microphone.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Okay.
Okay, so hello, I'm Isa 𝗕𝗆𝘆𝘁𝗰𝗵. I'm really glad to be at Clujotronic. I'm always glad to be back in Cluj because I graduated here, the University of Art and Design, and I always love to come back with opportunities. So yeah, before me, as I studied painting, I always used to change my ideas to fit this media. So the technique started to take more importance in each project, and I felt that my ideas, I just had to adapt them to it. And now when I have one idea, I try to see which technique matches more what I want to express. And so in anamorphic memories, I use the optical theater technique, which uses reflections and creates virtual images that the spectator will perceive as holograms. And I have chosen this because my project speaks about memory and the present moment. And I found that that this technique fitted the idea that I had about memories, like the characteristic of the hologram, that it's untouchable, transparent, and volatile. And in anamorphic memories, the spectator will find himself in a game of discovering 3 different points of view over one situation. My points of inspiration for this project were Alain René's movie L'année dernière à Marienbad, from which I took the the idea that one character tries to convince the other one that they had a common memory. So I take this and I try to make this game between me and the spectator, to try to convince him that we have a common past. And I mixed it a little up with the one idea of the novel, The Invention of Morel of Casares, in which a character tried to integrate himself into the machine that someone else created in order to keep alive one moment. But me, I take the spectator and I integrate him into my machine. And yeah, the spectator has I try to give him the main place, the main role in this piece, because I find that when we watch a work, we always relate to ourselves, and the viewer tries to integrate his perception about the work, but also the work needs the spectator. So yeah, it's more a game between the work and the spectator.
Okay, thank you. Really interesting. I know some of your works, and yes, they are indeed very, very exciting. So let me go back to
we can put the teaser maybe of the.
Oh, you have a teaser. Okay, sorry. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I didn't know that.
You have it.
Ça va peut-être pas te sembler réel, mais pourtant ça l'est. Je voulais que tu viennes ici. Je t'attendais. Nous nous sommes parlé. Ou peut-être qu'on ne s'est rien dit. Je suis contente de te voir installée ici. Je ne m'attendais plus à te voir ici. Cette dame. Souviens-toi.
Okay, thank you. Really, really interesting. Well, we are now, and I propose to go to the question part of our discussion, and I will, I don't know, I will take advantage of my position here and ask the first question, and I will keep the order of the presentation. So I'm going to Alexander and Aglaya to ask them a question actually related to their very name, Playtronica. And it sounds really, really, really exciting and quite in a penetrant manner. And I was curious about one thing. It's I know especially that you work with the haptic dimension of artworks, in a way, putting aside the let's say ocularocentric, if I may say so. I mean the accent on visuality that. I don't know, the humankind was used to for so many years. So you put an accent on haptic dimension, on touching and objects, the real objects themselves. And now I'm going to the issue of your own name. Is that I don't know, something related to play? Is it something related with gaming in your work? Do you assume that as a sort of genealogy of your work, or it's rather something more as a coincidence?
No, no coincidence. It's on purpose. So the way how we see technology is developing is that tomorrow everything that is invented now would be used tomorrow, would be used by corporations, and there would be no play at all. It would be just pure capitalist business things. That's why we take this technology and we invite everyone to play before it's not too late. So we're playing by playing, we're exploring that possibilities that might not be that were not intended in the beginning. So it's just exploration and discovery through play. That's the idea behind Playtronic. We also close to this movement of tinkering, when you use objects around you and do something completely different without meaning or any function, but then it leads you to some discoveries. That's why Playtronic is all about play.
Yeah, okay, I see. I'll also have a, because you mentioned right now, and I've seen on your work that you have a number of important collaborations with huge corporations, and we have to, I don't know, to notice that many artists are rather reluctant, let's say, to collaborate with the corporations for many reasons. Okay, so you do collaborate a lot, and I think it's great. But I was curious, how do you see these collaborations? Actually, what brings you and what brings them in this equation, if I may?
Well, we're not hiding this. We're not putting this aside. I think it's one of the sources for an artist, but I think how we approach them is similar way how we approach our artistic projects. We tell them, look, you have a product and we can make this product sound or maybe talk or maybe react to the audience with a tactile interface. So for us, building this communication is exciting as the same as building this communication in our own project, because it's always about looking for new ways of communication through tactile experiences. And as well, we use sound, which is very emotional. So I think they liked us because we are maybe for some artists a bit naive, using these simple things as tactile and sound without algorithms and more complicated structures, just using simple technology, but it really works. And I think it comes back to the play component. It works because it's a play scenario. So and everyone needs that to build emotional connection with anything. So that's how we approach that. And yeah.
Okay, yeah, sounds quite exciting. And speaking about that, I will jump to Julien and Romain and ask them. I mean, you yourself, I don't know if together or perhaps in a separate projects, you have collaborated yourselves with some, I don't know, some names, for example, Arte or Sense RS. Is that, yeah, if I pronounce well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious, which is a little bit unusual for artists embracing, VJing or music, or how this collaboration worked. And again, I'm curious about the same things. What was what you gained from that? Not in a material sense, obviously, but what was this exchange was about on both sides?
It's more about my daily job. It's really my job apart my artistic project with Julien. I'm motion designer, so I'm collaborating with multiple clients. And recently I had the chance to work with Arte, and the CNRS it's a research center in France, and that's not really related to my artistic project, but it's always a good way to explore techniques and some animation stuff and visual and composition. But yeah, I think everything is everything is connected in my work, but yeah. So
Okay, and one more little curiosity: Are you did you come from VJing to animation, or the other way around, from animation to
um,
VJing? What was the path?
it was really I think at the same time in the art school. Uh, yeah, in 10 years ago, and a teacher showed me some VJing stuff, VJing in projection and VJing software, and he introduced me to this kind of work, and I found myself quite interesting by that. Uh, I'm not a musician, but I always was connected to musician people, and it was a good way for me to pursue this passion, and so this is why I always work as motion designer, and yeah, 10 years ago I started to VJing with a rock band, and then another rock band in Paris, and then I met Julian, and yeah, everything to until today.
Okay. And there's I will have a question for Isa, because we are talking with guys at Playtronica about touching, about the haptic dimension, and you, on the contrast, talked about the fluidity of the nothingness, if you want, in terms of materiality of the holography. So here we have two opposite points, or two opposite positions, which is, I think, extremely interesting. And both of your approaches, I mean, Alex and Playtronica's and Isa's approaches, has to do with the relationship between reality and virtuality, between, I don't know, immediacy and fictionary and imaginary words, in a way or another. So I'm curious, Isa, if you can clarify in the sense, what do you mean with the term floating realities, which is a beautiful term, but I'm curious how you arrived to that term, and how it's related to the things I've just mentioned about the relationship with realities.
Yeah, but, yeah. Speaking about floating realities, yeah, I came to this term because I was, when I was started to create the project, and I was questioning myself, actually, what is real? Is it real what I remember, or is it real what someone else is remember, or is it real what? And I realized that actually, no, reality, you don't have a reality which is solid. It's, for me, reality, it's I find that that it's not a solid thing, so it's something that that changes, and that and it's transparent, and that my reality can change when it's confronted to the reality of someone else. It's more, when we speak about memories, sometimes, when I remember a fact, and I speak with someone about it, I see that we don't remember the same things. That someone remembers, things that are related to them. Maybe if they something frustrated them, they will remember more this, and sometimes we forget. Like, sometimes I'm shocked that persons forget what for me was really important, and they remember something else.
Mm-hmm. That's great, because you sort of anticipated my question related to memory, but you somehow answered that question related to memory. So you see this in a rather relative way than in a definitive terms, which is more likely true. Is that this, let's say, relative or relativistic, perhaps even, way of seeing things, has to do with another often involved term, which is anamorphosis. appears in some of your works, and I'm curious if this has to do with that or it's something else. So what's the story behind it?
Yeah, but it's exactly the same thing. Yeah, that it's distortionate and that our memory, it's anamorphic. Like it's the same. It changes in with the situation and with the moment when we remember it.
Yeah, obviously, any act of memory is a subjective act in a way or another. But okay, seeing it in terms of anamorphosis, that really makes it extremely interesting.
Yeah, and with the anamorphic, it was also that to speak about the different points of view, and you have a point of view when you sit in one situation, and when you change your point of view, you see something else. So this is like in anamorphous, it's the same. You have to be in this spot to see this thing. If you move, you see something else.
Yeah, and one more thing, because we're right here, and perhaps it's the right moment to ask it. So you see memories as something really, really personal, or mostly personal, and not something that you can have in terms of, let's say, collective memory or something like that, which belongs to a larger community of people. Or is that is this sentence true? Let's say from your
For
point.
me, yes. For me,
Is it correct to make this observation or not?
yeah. For me, I see it like this. Yeah, I see that memories are personal, and it's something that I have, and someone else cannot have my memories.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. Yeah, so now I'm going back to Alexander and Aglaya, and I have a question related to the educational dimension of your work. You've mentioned that today when we've met and when I've seen your work, amazing veggie orchestra work. You mentioned already about the educational dimension, which is extremely interesting. Um, and the question is, if you how do you work with kids or with other individuals and communities, such as people with disabilities? And somehow, okay, yeah, that's the question. I have a second part, but this is a little bit different. So, how do you work with? How do you involve your artworks in working with these type of communities?
Yeah, first of all, we do workshops for group of kids. And just something like we did today, but more like if today people just come come and go and can play. So with kids, we just explain the structure of the track, how it could work with our device, and let them play it without fear of making mistake. So it's like first time they're playing a melody and they do it well because they're not scared of no notation or something like this. Um, Also, we have a group on Facebook. It's a community, Playtronica friends, and there are around 2,000 people, or maybe more. And there are a lot of educators and people who work like researchers who work with autistic people and also with the 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘁𝗁𝗵.
Elderly people.
Yeah, elderly people. So sometimes it's really hard for especially for autistic people. The touch is something very special, and it's hard to make a step. And when without devices, if the touch is has like a sound, it's not that hard to them to make the step. So yeah, we have a few researchers that we are working on a program with. Like
Yeah, in Berlin we have a theater group which is made from autistic people, and recently we did a show with them And as example, we introduced them an instrument which was just metallic strips on the floor. So they don't have to play anything at all. They just need to walk. And by connecting the two stripes with their feet, they start the sound. So they basically do more choreography based or basic movement to create sound compositions. And it was like that. In one day, we made a rehearsal, and then we made this, it's not a show, but a preview of a theater play. So I think that's one of the examples how easy it can be introduced to other groups of people.
So their experience is one of a kind when they interact and then go home. And do you have some, I don't know, long-term ways of involving people with your works?
Mainly our approach is to build this first step, and then later you can go more deeper with another instrument or with another techniques. But we have a few, actually the purpose of this group is to develop something like methodology based on our devices, because of course we ourselves are not right kind of people to do that, to develop that. I know how it's hard to speak that language and to build the educational programs. So that's why we're building the community and supporting it to create it there. But we don't have that at the moment. I hope there will be more experience with other people. They will share, and we will come up with something like a few steps program, at least.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I will go. I will come back to you. I mean, perhaps it's no. I will ask you the question now because it's somehow it's floating around it. And it's a question that actually we received during our talk a few moments ago. And it's a great question, and it asks if the kids use installation different than adults.
It's a good question because
Absolutely.
yes, of course there are, because adults, maybe because they see the structure like four groups of four instruments, they are really trying to make this track. But kids, they are more chaotic and random, and of course they like to make more noise. So that is actually first part of a workshop, just to start listening to each other, not only making this like random noises. And this is really important. Then at the end of the workshop, they really start. Maybe we are spoiling them. Maybe we're making them they're doing as adults, but they really start listening to each other, and I think it's also very important.
Yeah, but of course they have the stream of creativity, which is completely unfiltered.
Yeah,
and this is what we're taking from it.
Yeah, but we all behave like kids when we interact with that. I mean, today it's fascinating. Everybody was smiling or laughing and playing with the vegetables on the table and making noise out of the vegetables. That's something very playful, and that's something very childish in a beautiful sense of the term. And yeah, I assume we became a little bit kids when we interact with these sort of works.
you know what I noticed when because we made these workshops like in Oslo, in Barcelona, in France, and people in different countries, they react absolutely different. And people like northern people, they're really trying like, okay, I can say I see like how it works. I don't have to try it. And people like from in Barcelona, they start kissing each other, touching everything around table, vegetables, friends, and it's it's really funny how and Russian people, of course, they just start beating each other like as a joke. So I think it's a child. Maybe it's just our devices wake up child inside people.
Totally agree. Totally agree. It was also my observation. Yeah, yeah. And speaking about public and public's expectations of a sort, I'll go to Julien and Roman to ask something related to your show tomorrow. What do you expect from the public in terms of the title? It's a 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘁𝗰𝗵. You promise something perhaps to the public. So what's that promise you make, or do they have to think to something particular with your?
The name of that is the translation in English is Promised Land. So I named my album because I've made my almost entirely my album in Brittany, in Bretagne. So it's like a kind of tribute, but for the live show, it's a kind of really a kind of trip and an invitation to my promised land. So I expect the public to be surprised and and Breton.
Is Bretagne a promised land?
Yeah, it's mine.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a really awesome.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I hope they will travel here and
to visit,
to visit. Yeah, but not with the plane. Don't need the plane. I hope.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Bretagne is the promised land. Okay, we've put some lights on this promised land, and we found out the land at least. We'll see the the promise tomorrow. Okay, I'm going on to ask Isa this time. We'll change a little bit the focus of the discussion, and I'm curious a little bit, and it's not only for Isa, but especially for you, because I know that you studied here in Cluj, and you studied painting, and you work painting and graphic arts and things like that, which belong rather to the what is called art plastique in French, or visual arts. Simply, and I'm curious about the relationship between this formation of yours and these approaches, and your embracing of electronic mediums, and how does this happen?
Yeah, in the beginning, I started because yeah, as I said that I found that my ideas, I had always to change my ideas to fix them into drawing or painting what I was doing. So the first time I did this changement, it was actually a drawing, a project that was called Walk Inside the Box, Think Outside, that I made also in a residency in Cluj at 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘁𝗶𝗰. And it was a mix between drawing and performance and a little dance. So with this, I found that I had more freedom to adapt the technique to the idea and not the inverse. Because while I was doing painting, I was thinking, I find that I was doing the inverse, and each time I was finding, okay, I have this idea, but I have to make it in painting. So how do we do it? And also now I ask myself more, okay, I have this idea. What media fixes more what I want to express?
Yeah. Okay. It makes sense totally. And I'm curious. I don't know about your precise background, Alexander and Aglaya, but do you agree that perhaps being active in media arts is a little bit more difficult than perhaps in a more traditional ways of making art? Do you find it more difficult in terms of not making per se, but distribution, addressing people, addressing the public, and etc.?
Well, I have to say that we as 𝗕𝗃tronic, we have a special attitude. We feel it from the institution that we are not really inside this artist museum communication, because
Mainstream or whatever.
I don't know why, because we also selling things, because we also work with brands, because we also are maybe too naive, and that's why we always taking some middle place, which is usually a hall in the museum or entrance or maybe the opening or the and we were,
that means the most visible. That's also true.
for the moment, yeah, having 15 minutes of visible. But I at some point I just thought, okay, maybe that's kind of the niche that we also can develop, and maybe there is these spaces also need to be filled with projects like ours. And so yeah, our relation to being an artist is we rather a platform, a community, and we do many things, but we not really feel ourselves like artists in the understand in the meaning of museum and artist in this communication. So
okay, I see. And I want to ask Julien a question, 𝗕𝗆. If I mean, your music is very, very much based on textures and atmosphere. It's, I would say, very visual. So did you feel the need to move from something to something else? That means from music and only music to collaborating with Romain or with some others, perhaps including some visual parts of it. And how did that happen? And why did you feel the need to expand your work?
Before living just of music, I was a graphic designer. I've made my studies in graphic design, so it's always been a part of the music and the reflection in my head. It's really graphic when I do music. It's I always see emerging colors or landscapes. So I'm really happy to have found Romain, because we are really agree on the graphic design, and we see the music kind of the same. But he got, of course, his own things. But I always have this kind of approach of music and graphic design or video movie clip, or I don't know why, but it's kind of connected for me.
Yeah, okay, and I think it is, and it's obvious that that connection. Yeah, I wanted speaking about more on these applied or technical or part of your work. I will go to back to 𝗕𝗃tronic and ask: do you build these devices, or?
yeah,
Because they look, I don't know, they look custom made. I mean, they don't look something that you can get from the shelf, right?
so actually Aglaya, she created the shapes of these devices, and I don't know if we have the second one here.
Yes.
For those who haven't been on the workshop today, so yeah, we want also to work in product design. It's one of our ambitions, probably. We're building them, we're developing them, and it's really fun. And it's not that hard, to be honest, to build this. You can make Arduino and a lot of wires. This is how we started. But then, if you find an engineer, you can create this just like in half a year it took us. but maybe it can be even faster, and you can print them and then you can work with them. It's a really fascinating by this technology in the way that it's so easy and affordable. That's why we even sell them like that. So it's this is the final product. So there is no
Plastic box.
no plastic box. Everything is here visible. You can touch it and you can wash it, to be honest. And
Shouldn't say that.
then you have to dry it, but still. Yeah, we love to play with electronics.
And they look very well, very nice. Those two pieces. So indeed, you can perhaps make them. I don't know, sellable products, and try to I don't know, to sell them and to. Yeah, and, speaking about the techniques and technology, which is obviously is not the same. I'm curious to know a little bit more, Isa, about your work and how do you approach the holography, and not only, but perhaps a little bit more about these practical part, the technology of your project at Clujotronic, but not only.
But the technique that I use, actually, it's quite, for me, it's really rudimentary. It's, what I use, it exists from a long time ago, that I think magicians used to do it in the beginning, that they take a person, you take it with a window, and his projection appears here. And me, I do the same thing, just as the materials a little changed a little. So me, I make this with a screen. I put a plexiglass, and the holographic illusion appears here. So yeah, actually, it's really simple. And if you mix them with real objects, then it gives the speciality. And if you have more screens that you don't put in the same place, it gives the profound.
Did you develop yourself these devices, or you've learned to build them from somewhere? How did you?
I built them myself. This is why people shouldn't touch the box in which they are. But it's techniques that a lot of people use. After they are simple to copy. After
Okay, and another curiosity this time for you, Blanche and Romain. Did you showed some pictures before with you on stage? Is this mixing live the two parts, the visual parts and the music, or is something that you?
The visual. Everything is pre-writing. I think every visual is really connected to a part of the show. So I'm following a timeline really, and I'm launching every clip one by one. It's with a software called 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘁𝗁, and with this software, I can launch every clip. So step by step, I'm following the live, and I can add some effects on it in live. So that's the fun part of the job. It's the FX part, and for this project, I'm doing also the light. So I'm controlling. With DMX, I'm controlling the light on the scene, on the stage. So I'm between visual and light. So I have my 10 fingers occupied on my laptop and a controller of DMX.
Oh, okay. So you still leave enough part for improvisation during the live show.
Yeah,
All right.
because otherwise it will be a little bit boring to just play a
Obviously.
button and let the show play itself. So yeah, it's more fun to play with some yeah pads and stuff. So yeah, it's in and like this every show is a little bit different than the other one, like so it's more interesting too for the public.
Okay. So we are going on to the finish to finish. Sorry, to the final of this discussion, because we promised we'll stay together for an hour and some minutes. But I can't resist. But I asked this banal question, but I'm really curious, and that's why I want to put this question about the future projects. It's always something which sounds very very banal, but at least for I don't know, an art critic, an art historian, a curator like myself, I'm really curious what's the next step the artist would take from the moment on. So let me go back in the same order and ask 𝗕𝗃𝘁𝗁ica, Alexander and Aglaya, what's your next steps? What are your next steps? What's your next project?
So the current project we're working now, and it's still not finished. It's actually the longest project we ever worked. It's a space in the museum where we call it sensory room, but it's also a kind of a gym for different senses. You're going inside and you have different spaces for sight, for touch, for smell, for balance, for synesthesia, silence room. So everything in one space. And the purpose of this is to train your senses before or after you go to see the art. You go to meet conceptual art, avant-garde, whatever it can be. But the purpose of this space is to prepare or to make people relax after the art. So it's like a medium between our senses and contemporary art, and this would be hopefully premiered by the end of this year.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. So where is this sensorium or whatever you will call it? Where is a permanent installation?
It's a 3-month installation in 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘁𝗰𝗵 Museum in Moscow.
What museum? Sorry.
𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘁.
What's the 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘁 Museum?
It's just being built. Yeah, just I think in 2 months there would be the opening. The other name is the Guest 2. Guest because it was the former power station. It's in the heart of Moscow, where the garage. So it's kind of a very modern, contemporary art space. And we were invited to design this room because we were so much connected with synesthesia and with tactile things. So I'm really looking forward to see how what we'll get, how it will look like.
But you should convince them to leave that installation permanently there, because it's worth keeping it.
It's already planned to be out in 3 months. So.
Okay, that sounds very very interesting. Julien, Romain, what's your plans? What do you have prepared for the next period of time?
So me, I have to release my album. It would be released in the end of January. So it's a big project. So it's a big new step, and we have to tour with it.
Yeah,
we have to make it live live.
It's the beginning of the project. Really, yeah. It's one of the first gig tomorrow. So it's really yeah, it's the beginning. So we hope we will continue to play in this live in this show. I don't know how long, but I hope it will take some time.
So apart from the album, which is your album, it's not a
Yeah.
collaboration or something. Do you work separately or always together in the projects that presupposes both the visual and sound parts? Or do you have some other collaborations as well?
No.
Yeah, we apart this project, we don't work together. So yeah, I have some other project with my motion design work. I have some other friends in music too. So I think from I always have some ideas for another type of show and live and interactive interactive stuff. So maybe in a few years I will try with another artist, maybe another musician, so on another completely universe.
And still working in the promised land, or you move to some other lands, not so promised, but
Yeah, we will stay in Brittany.
okay. Okay. Isa, what about you? What's your next step? What do you
Yeah, so me for the next step, I change again, and for the next project, the one on which I am working now, it's theater play for children, which will be interactive and integrates multimedia and interrogating the power. It's about
so it's a theater play, if I
yeah, it's a
got it
theater play.
right? It's a theater play for kids, right?
Yes.
Okay, and where do you want to produce it or show it?
For the moment, it's in French, so I will try to find places in France to produce it. But I don't have yet. I'm just on the writing part for the moment.
But not in the promised land.
No, for me, Britain is not the promised land. That's Cluj, the promised land for me.
Cluj, the promised. See, Julien and Romain. There's several of them. One.
And after I also work now on the writing of another piece of theater with Adina Lazar, which is it speaks about Romanian immigrants and our desire to always come back to Romania. And I will collaborate with choreograph and theater maker, director, which is 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘆𝘁𝗰𝗵, on a project which speak about the assumption of animality, human animality. And it's she tries to concentrate on the bear as an animal. So, and for the moment, we're just we just change ideas, and we'll see what will happen.
Okay, sounds really interesting, and I notice a certain shift of your work from visual arts and visuality to performing arts. Very much. Is that correct? This observation? What do you think?
Yes.
And how comes this shift? What determined you to shift your attention to other areas?
I don't know. I think sometimes just things come like this.
Fair enough.
Maybe it's because I'm in a studio and which has in which we are a lot of artists and also theater makers, and also we have a lot of different disciplines. And so I think it just sometimes just like talking like this, we have ideas, and I see just switching like this. It's not a desire that I had. Mostly it's just sometimes just things just come like this.
Okay. So we are now wrapping up this discussion. It was quite a pleasure. I know there are some other questions remaining unanswered, but I think this is always the case, and it's perhaps the reason to meet again. Why not in Clujotronic context next time, whatever that next time would be. As I wish to Clujotronic, so be prepared. There will be at least 100 other editions of Clujotronic. So yes, so I would like to thank you very much for your participation and for your beautiful interventions and excellent thoughts and really exciting thoughts you've shared with us here. I want to thank Ingo Tege, the director of 𝗕𝗹𝘆𝘁𝗰𝗵 in Cluj, for inviting and putting up together all these discussion, and also French Institute Ioana Costas and both their teams, which did a tremendous job to put together this festival and including this discussion tonight. So thank you very much, and thank you the audience who had the patience and interest to listen to these excellent thoughts of yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.